in and dive into the material here in a minute, but before we do, I just want to go over a few technical notes. First, this session will be recorded. Everyone in attendance will receive an email within 5 days with both a link to the recorded session and access to an electronic version of the slides. Second, this event will include a live Q&A session at the end. To submit questions throughout the session, please type them into the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and be sure to send your questions to all panelists. We'll be answering as many questions as time permits. If we're unable to get to your question, we'll follow up directly with you in the next few days. So with that, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Randy Olson. I'm the Vice President of Global Business Development for ProFM, and I have overall responsibility for the design, development, distribution of the ProFM Credential program. More importantly, I'm honored and we're blessed to have Leo Soma with us today. Very happy to have him join us. And Leo has a master's in engineering and an MBA. He recently retired from Brookhaven National Laboratory, where he was the facility complex manager. Leo has over 38 years of experience in day-to-day operations and management of facility systems, services, and power plants. Leo, in addition to all that, is a dedicated facility management author, speaker, and educator. Leo earned his ProFM this year and will be leading ProFM classes in 2019. So welcome, Leo. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy.
So just a little roadmap and where we're going today. I'm just going to kick things off here with a few industry trends. We're going to talk about what the ProFM is, and then Leo's going to dive into our ProFM body of knowledge and the 24 things that every facility manager should know. Leo will talk about how you would advance your career and how your organization benefits from the ProFM. I will talk to you about the kind of steps and how to become a ProFM and how you get through that. We'll have links to additional resources. Keep an eye out for a special offer at the end of this webinar for attending today. And then, of course, we're going to answer questions at the end, as many as we can get to. So please, as we're going through the session, make sure that you're typing those questions into that window on the right-hand side of your screen. So with that, I'd like to just kick this off with a few facility management trends. And I don't think anything here is going to be of news to folks that have joined our webinar today. But you as facility managers and professionals in this industry have never been more strategic and important to the organization. And any search you do or any article you pick up these days related to facility management, there's a lot of discussion around employee experience, employee wellness, kind of integrated employee experience, and then in addition to employee experience, there's a lot of discussion around facility management technology and the complexity around that and the volume of data that facility managers are dealing with today. So, the net of all that is FM is a complex career and it's a complex industry. FMs have, as I mentioned, never been more strategic to an organization. So they're dealing with technology, both related to how they manage the facility, but also in addition, the technology that now runs buildings through building automation systems and technology and the physical technology in the facility itself. But with that, with all the technology and all the advancement in that, fundamentally, FMs are in the people business. And as employees and employers with this employee experience, employees are cross-generational now. So there's folks that are older, there's folks that are in the middle of their career, and there's folks that are younger. And to be able to effectively communicate with those folks is very complex. How do you do that verbally? How do you do that written? How do you do that non-verbally in meetings? That's handled very differently across generations. So, very, very detailed and very complex, and very important to the top and bottom line of organizations. With that, then the very first ISO standard for facility management was introduced this year. So the ISO 41001 standard for management systems for facility management. So that very first, very first time that FM has had a standard. And then, couple that with there was not a program out there until ProFM that really embraced that standard and really tied itself and used that as a key input into how folks get educated. So, we're going to walk through some detail around that. We're going to walk through a survey and how we put together our program here in a minute. But, I guess the key message out of this is you folks are very important and strategic to the business, and it's more and more complex than ever. So what is the ProFM then? So I've mentioned the body of knowledge a couple of different times. So that body of knowledge was based on, a survey that we did and a cross industry survey that we did as it relates to facility management. And that body of knowledge defines the 19 functional FM knowledge areas and the 5 cross-functional competencies required of today's facility professionals around the globe. And again, as key inputs into this, we use that ISO management system standard, and we also use the Federal Building Personnel Training Act as a key input into building that body of knowledge. So that identifies those 24 things that every facility manager needs to know. Second, then, the ProFM Credential program teaches those 24 things. So it teaches the entire ProFM body of knowledge. So in that one single program designed to be gone through in bite-sized, manageable chunks, everything is taught to the facility manager so they can be more effective and more competent in their job. And then last, through the final assessments, which are broken into 2 parts of knowledge recall and situational judgment or competency-based questions, that facility manager demonstrates that they've got that knowledge and earns the recognition required to be a competent facility manager. So the program is built on global FM standards. It provides comprehensive training that leads to the ProFM designation, and it's all delivered in one program at one cost. So the program was built independently of any independent professional organization. So across industry, across career levels, we pulled folks together to define that body of knowledge, and we really believe here at ProFM that everybody wins when we all come together and advance the profession. I believe across the industry now we're seeing more unification than ever in facility management. So one of our goals is really to help bring the FM community together and elevate and have a positive impact on the profession. Define that relevant and knowledge and competencies for the profession. Fill in those key knowledge gaps and skill gaps through training, and those knowledge gaps really exist across the continuum of somebody's career. If they're early in the career, there may have more gaps that they need to fill in. If they're mid-career, that may be less. But even folks that are more senior in their FM career have some gaps that the ProFM can help fill in for them. And then last, provide that recognition for facility managers who have achieved the global ProFM standard, and provide value to those organizations that they work for. So again, we really believe that everybody wins when we bring the industry together. So the body of knowledge was put together, by a cross-functional team of folks that we call our ProFMI Commission. So those folks were across industry. So we had folks from service providers, we had folks from academics, we had folks that worked at large companies, small companies, and then we had folks that were earlier in their career, mid-career, and more advanced in their career. In addition to that, those folks that put together that draft body of knowledge were geographically diverse. So there were folks from North America, but there were folks in the Middle East and outside the U.S. as well. So it was a global team that put together that initial draft body of knowledge. Then to validate that, we went out to the broader FM market and surveyed tens of thousands of FM professionals and received 3,327 responses in return, which helped validate the 24 things that every facility manager should know. Those responses came to us from 93 different countries across 21 different industries and over 1,200 unique job titles. 40% of those responses were from outside the U.S., so we feel really good about the responses we received in return. And then 95% of those folks agreed that those 24 things, those FM knowledge areas and those cross-functional competencies hit the things that the facility manager needs to do on a daily basis. So that survey, done independently of any large professional organization, really validated and built our body of knowledge, which led to the development of the ProFM Credential program. And with that, what I'd like to do is turn control over to Leo and turn the stage over to Leo to walk through the body of knowledge and the 24 things that every FM should know. And with that, Leo, I believe you've now got control.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, this is Leo Soma talking. So I'm going to go over, Randy hit overall 24 things every FM should know. And being an FM of my whole career, if you know these 24 things, you got life. You've made it, because it's the most important thing, or it had been the most important thing to me. So what are you going to learn with the FM, the ProFM program? They talk about these 24 areas, and they really did a great job in basically defining the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you need as a facility manager. Whether you're new and just starting in the profession, or you're older like myself and still in the profession, or retired more like myself. But there's 24 areas, and so I'm going to go over these 24 areas. The first 5 areas are what we talk about as cross-functional areas, and it's communications, it's sustainability, it's quality, innovation, and collaboration. And they've done such a great job, because if you think about communication, sustainability, quality, innovation, collaboration, they cover those other 19 areas or bodies of knowledge that are contained within each of 4 of the other modules that you'll get with this training program. The first module is the cross-functional area, but communication overlaps. If you can't be a good project manager if you're looking to asset manage it. It covers project management, strategic planning. You can't do without good communication. So that's why they termed and put these areas as cross-functional areas. Each one of these 5 areas of body of knowledge cover the 19 other areas. So there's written documentation and information on communication, on sustainability, on quality, on innovation, as well as collaboration. Like communication, if you're not a good collaborator, you're not going to make a good project manager. If you're not a good collaborator, you're not going to do well with providing good occupant services in the area of operations and management. If you're not a good collaborator in the area of business management, when we talk about human capital or leadership skill, you're not going to be successful in it. So those 5 areas are key, and they cover the 19 other subject areas within 4 separate modules. The first one being, and when I'm not going through these in any particular order, because you could actually talk about any one of these modules in different orders, but the first that we talk about here is asset management. And under asset management module, it provides the body of knowledge for you to leverage your organization and covering project management, strategic planning, capital planning, and construction. Those 4 topics. And I will deviate here and say that the way I look at this, strategic planning is at the heart of asset management. When you do good strategic planning, you can come up with a plan for spending your capital dollars, and then once you've done a capital plan, you'll need to develop good project management organization so you can lead to construction. So the asset management covers those 4 areas: project management, strategic planning, capital planning, and construction. The next area you'll get into is risk management. And risk management provides those skills and those knowledge to manage the risk that any organization, regardless of the size, will face. And it includes compliance and standards. Compliance and standards meaning, codes, local codes, federal codes, NFPA requirements, whatnot, environment, health and safety, security, and emergency planning. Key areas, and all provide high levels of risk, and they need to be identified and controlled to have an effective organization. In the area of environmental health and risk, you'll learn about topics from lead, asbestos, to working on or near electrical equipment, arc flash hazards, shock hazards, waste, how to handle waste, and so on. So those are 4 areas that are covered in risk management: compliance to standard, ES&H, security, and emergency planning. And emergency planning is key to every organization. As we all know, you need to have a well-defined emergency plan, and you also need to know how to execute that emergency plan in the unlikely event or the likely event of some kind of problem in your facility. The next area we talk about is operations and maintenance. And what's key here is that to be a good facility manager, this module reinforces that you don't have to be a technical expert in having a full understanding of all systems, because we all know in FM that keeping the lights, keeping the heat, power on, there's a lot behind that. Most people take it for granted, but us in the FM realize how complicated it is. But you as an FM don't technically need to have that highest level of expertise. That's what you build your teams to do. But in the area of operations and maintenance, it covers technical services. What does your FM organization provide? Provide maintenance, provide repair, response to emergencies, occupant services such as mail services, motor pool, transportation, whether you have a cafeteria. Big area in operations and maintenance is work management. How do you control the work that's required of you, that's requested of you from your customers? And again, this varies depending upon the size of your organization. You know, there's some organizations that are small that may handle work management via email, and there's those large organizations that have computerized maintenance management systems that help control and triage the work, prioritize the work, and get it done. Another big area in operations and maintenance is utility management. Again, this varies depending on your organization. If you're a facility such as mine, I worked at a national laboratory. We had 5,000 acres and over 350 buildings. We had our own utilities, so we had our own water plant, our own sewer plant. We had our own steam plant, a chill water plant. So utility management in this section discusses all the different utilities and how you effectively manage utilities and to be as energy efficient as possible. If you're a small organization, you may buy your utilities, so you're not as deeply involved. But what's nice about it, again, this ProFM covers everything that any FM could ever be exposed to, depending upon and throughout their career. And the last area in operations and maintenance is space management. How do you effectively utilize the space? No FM wants to be responsible for having lots of vacant space. So space management talks about churn rate, and how do you plan and prepare space for the next needs of the organization. And then the last section is business management, another big area, which, again, here, you're not going to become a business manager. You're not going to become a financial expert. This area covers, though, topics like human capital, what goes into hiring, what goes into onboarding, what goes into training staff, retention, what happens, what happens in termination, how do you handle disciplinary problems, and so on. Leadership skills, another big area that ProFM dives into. What makes good leaders? What are the essential skills? How do you become a better leader? And different management styles that are used to manage facilities. Financial management, another big area. Again, here you're not going to become an accountant business expert, but this teaches you the terminology that you need to know to be effective in facilities management. Contract management is how do you manage your contracts, whether it's a contract for buying a material or it's a contract because you're hiring an architect engineer firm to build a new building or renovate an existing building. So contract management talks about the different contracts. Procurement, we get into the different types of methods of procurement and the responsibility and importance of a good procurement group in your organization, and how you as an FM need to link up with them and be partners with them to get goods and services at the best price. And the last section under business management is real estate. Here again, this depends upon the size of your organization and the type of business. Some of you may never be involved. Myself, being at a national lab, we had fixed real estate, so we were not a company that was buying and leasing, but this program does cover all the different types of situations you may be faced in. It talks about the benefits of leasing versus buying. It discusses the different type of lease agreements and so on. So as an FM, you may have already been involved, or you certainly may get involved sometime throughout your career. So those are essentially the 24 bodies of knowledge. Again, the 5 cross-functional areas, and then they're broken up into 4 different other modules: asset management, risk management, business management, operations, and maintenance. So how can the Pro-FM advance your career? As someone who's done it later in my career than earlier, I can tell you that one of my regrets is that, first, they didn't have a program like this years ago, and second, I waited so long to actually get some of these professional recognitions. But the Pro-FM will certainly help you, whether it's early in your career, because you're going to learn skills and gain recognition with employees, clients, and coworkers. It's effective if you're in your mid-level career, because you're going to have gaps that no one that may be in the field or have been in the field for 10 years will have been exposed to all the 24 areas that Pro-FM discusses. So it'll certainly fill that knowledge and skill gaps. And then for those senior in your career, it'll update and validate your level of knowledge. It'll help build a competency, and it also helps you identify knowledge and skill and gaps that are in your existing organization. So regardless of the level of your experience, it will help you on all levels from now till the end of your career. And how does this benefit your organization? Well, first, it does stand as it's a great body of knowledge that sets a standard for the FM profession in your organization. It does provide a way of you evaluating the level of knowledge of your staff and potential candidates and for promotional opportunities. The training covers everything an FM needs to know, and the skills. And it certainly, as Randy said, is important to fill the retirement gaps that we're faced with. We're going to have a lot. Many of us are senior and ready to retire. The young folks or the mid-level career folks have great futures ahead of them. It helps with communication throughout your organization because it develops and creates a common language. The return on investment is second to none, and I've done a lot of different training besides my higher education training. The actual credentials I've obtained, I can tell you that it's high-quality training, and it provides a way of tracking progress of your employees and also to the end to complete the program. And the great thing about it is you're not developing a training program. It's here at your fingertips, and it's affordable. And, Randy can talk about the pricing. But, again, it's everything you wanted to know about FM. We're afraid to ask, and it's something that's definitely worth its weight in gold. So I'm going to turn this back over to Randy.
right, very good. Thanks, Leo. Appreciate that. And what I'm going to do is take the next just a couple minutes and walk through how you would get the ProFM. So I'm going to go through kind of a couple steps here: invest, assess, enhance, check, and earn. But before we go there, what I'd like to do is describe when you open up the ProFM box, what do you get? So with the ProFM, there's, as Leo mentioned, 5 modules. So the module for the cross-functional competencies and one for each of the major FM functional areas. So there's 5 really books, if you will, that are delivered electronically or optionally electronically plus print. So you can get print optional if you'd like. You can get the printed modules if you want. So that's where all the content and all the knowledge really resides from a reading material standpoint, in those 5 either electronic or printed books. The second part to the program is a set of online interactive tools. So you get a login into a website that's a piece of software that helps walk you through the program, and there's a number of tools there to help you enhance the knowledge gained in those reading materials. So there's flip cards, there's a glossary of terms, there's a pretest, which if we look at the steps here, in assess, so it will help you assess your current FM knowledge and identify those gaps with that online pretest. So it helps you really focus in on where you should spend your study time as you go through this program. And then if we look at the step enhance, it will help enhance your FM knowledge through those study tools. So the assess part is the pretest. The enhance is you're gaining that knowledge as you're going through the modules. And then also along the way you're able to check your progress through end of chapter quizzes and different case studies and exercises as you go through the program. And then last, the third piece in the ProFM box, if you will, when you open that up, is the assessments, or the final exams. And that's broken into 2 pieces, a pure knowledge recall. So as you're gaining that knowledge going through the program, you have 75 questions that ask you specifically about that knowledge gained. The second part is very critical, and we believe it's not only what you know, but how you apply it. There's 50 situational judgment questions or 50 competency-based questions that ask you to make a decision based on a scenario that's provided. So there's 50 of those. You need to pass both of those with a 70% or better to earn the ProFM credential. So it's a simple process to get through. You got to get the program. You got to assess your current knowledge, enhance that as you go through. Check and utilize the tools available to check your knowledge as you go, and then earn it by passing those final assessments. And then there's different ways, different options to get the ProFM based on how you best study. So it's intended to match how you best learn. And what you need to know here, several things you need to know, but one of the most critical things is no matter how you decide to go through this, the tools are always consistent, okay? So you always get those reading materials, you always get access to the online interactive tools, and you always get access to those final assessments in the same designed way to go through this in a manageable way. So go through a section, assess your knowledge, and then move on. But you can do that in 3 different ways. So if you're somebody that can go through in a self-paced on your schedule, self-study is a great option for you. So it's purely self-directed. So it's very convenient. It's optimized for your mobile device. If you happen to be on public transportation or something like that and would like to read on those devices, that's a great way to do it. You can download the flip cards to your device. There's a number of really nice tools to help you kind of in a self-study way. So that's purely on your time and on your schedule. Second is through an instructor-led course. So we use an instructor like Leo Soma. We deliver those through college and university partners. We deliver them through global training partners. We deliver them at large NFMT conferences, and that's somebody in the classroom that's delivering that content to you. There's a number of benefits to that. You have access to the instructor. It's great networking, and there's just great knowledge shared in a classroom setting like that. That can be delivered online, could be delivered live in the classroom, could be delivered online, or could be delivered in a combination of. So some live, some online, but there's a number of different ways that's delivered in an instructor-led course. Then last, if you are a group or organization and you'd like to have this delivered at your organization, first of all, it gets them on a common language and skills. It's more customized to you, using the base content and more customized to your organization. And that can be done either in a self-study or study group fashion, or bring in an instructor and do it specific to your organization at your organizations. One of the key benefits here is there's volume pricing based on groups of 2 or more for that. So there's multiple learning options to match your learning style. In terms of pricing for the program, the way we price this is for online only, so electronic version of the printed materials, it's $16.95. For online, if you want the print optional, so online plus print, it's an additional $50. For attending the webinar today, you get $300 off each of those. That'll be valid until the end of December, December 28th, almost the end of December. So December 28th, you'll need to use that using the discount code WB1118. You can order that online at profmi.org, and again, what's delivered here is everything you need to get the program. So the reading materials, the online tools, and the final assessments. If for some reason you're unable to be successful on the first attempt in either one of those parts of the final assessment, you have multiple tries at that at no additional cost. So everything you need is included in the ProFM Credential program. A few items before we get to questions here. There's a number of resources available out on the website, profmi.org. We have a nice tool called Map Your Gap, which compares your knowledge and skills to the ProFM body of knowledge and helps you understand where and how you should go after the ProFM and where you should focus your time. There's a nice guided tour out there with reading material samples, a white paper, and additional things, and then you can order right on that site. And with that, we are just a couple minutes over, but I'd like to address a couple of questions. Again, if we don't get to your question, we'll follow up directly to you via email in the very near future. First question we have is we're being asked, there's a number of folks that are wondering how it compares to the FMP from IFMA, so the IFMA FMP. So the FMP is a very deep dive into 4 kind of competency areas, 4 of the 11 competency areas as defined by IFMA, and those are specific to IFMA. So it dives deeply into just 4 of those areas. So the ProFM is much more broad in nature in that it covers all the knowledge and all the things that the FM needs to know. So again, FMP is more narrow in nature. Great program. It's a deep dive into 4 of those 11 competence areas as defined by IFMA. The next question we're getting is, so somebody was asking, what does it mean that ProFM is FBPTA aligned? So the FBPTA stands for the Federal Building Personnel Training Act, and that was enacted in the year 2010, and it made facility management training a priority for all federal personnel and contractors. So in October of this year, we received word from the GSA, from the United States Government General Services Administration, that the ProFM is in alignment with the knowledge and skills needed to meet the U.S. Federal Building Personnel Training Act. That was just a nice input into kind of a broad range of things that every facility manager needs to know. So we use that as a key input and kind of a key model as we built out the ProFM, along with those ISO standards that are being developed. With that, we are now 6 minutes over, so we're out of time. So what we'd like to do, if you've asked a question and it's not been addressed through this Q&A session, we will get back to you directly via email. So with that, I'd like to Thank you for joining our session today. Thank you to Leo for being our expert presenter. That was great. We greatly appreciate it. We wish you a good rest of your week, and we wish you a great holiday season. Please reach out, visit our website. If there's any questions, we're happy to help you. So with that, have a great afternoon.